Y'all, y'all, y'all ready for this? Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Hey everyone, welcome to Rev Trev NFL. My name is Rev Trev, and I'm so glad that you're here. I am a huge NFL fan who loves fantasy football, and so thanks for taking the time to watch this video. I know that it's draft season, everything's right around the corner, and so I want to definitely dive into this massive topic that you need to know: how to avoid bad fantasy advice. And so how do you do that? How do you do that? I want to just kind of share a kind of a broad view, and then I'm going to show examples, okay? I'm going to do examples of what I mean by this, but we need to understand something with all the fantasy experts and all the people producing content, that it is not a science, a perfect science, okay? It is fantasy football is literally educated guessing. You need to know that no one is perfect at this, even though everyone claims to. All the fantasy people, they're in a whole bunch of leagues. They only talk about the ones that they're successful in. Sometimes they say, oh yeah, I had that guy too that got hurt. But they have so many leagues that they can talk about what their good players were. If you would see their success rate in all the expert leagues and all the different leagues they're in, you'd be surprised how many fail and how many do well. Okay, so you can avoid making huge mistakes, and that's what this video is all about. And so I'm excited to share this with you. And you know, from other videos that I've shared, don't just follow consensus rankings, but you got to use consensus rankings in your favor. Look at where they have certain players that you value, that you know, or you have a good guess that's going to come and go to the next level. So make sure you know those kind of things, because it can help you in the drafts that are coming up. And this is draft season, right? This is totally the draft season. I'm just, my light's bugging out here. So very important to kind of know your the site rankings. We'll talk about that later, okay? But here's the real thing. The real thing is, many of you, maybe I shouldn't say you, many people don't want to do their own research. What they want to do is they want other people to do all the research for them, and then they're like, this is what happens. Well, this is the problem, is that if you don't do any research, that you're not going to do as well. I just telling you, you've got to do some research. And I'm not that you don't need to be like me and spend way too much time on this, but I want to encourage you, ask more questions. Don't just read a Twitter graphic or whatever site you're using, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever you're using. Don't just use that, okay? But ask a few more questions. Don't just take someone else's expert opinion on it. And I want to encourage you to try different strategies. Try zero RB, hero RB, double hero RB, or tight end early, or quarterback earlier than you'd normally like, or wait on quarterback. Go into a mock draft. Try some of these schemes out. See if this is the kind of team that you want to do. And then I also joined some live public leagues, because people stay around in those things, and then it's just good. By the way, I'm a Packers fan who loves the NFL. I live in Seahawk country. That's why I'm wearing a Seahawks jersey right now. Some of you are so confused and so angry right now. It's like, why would a Packers fan be wearing this? The Seahawks are my second favorite team, but the longer this goes on and with the fail Mary and all that stuff, I'm starting to get angry at the Seahawks. So, but I do think they're going to have a good team this year. We'll see how that happens. So here's some advice when it comes to how to avoid bad fantasy football. How to avoid bad fantasy football advice. Actually, before I forget, if you want to compete and contend and win fantasy championships, everyone, listen, win fantasy championships, definitely you got to consider these things. And then also follow me on X, which is Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok and Facebook. I'm all over the place. Happy to have people here. So for example, Wisconsin Night Podcast is here. Welcome. Good to have you here. Who should I draft if I have the first pick? That's a great question, and I have an answer for you. But can I just explain this first, and I'll get back to you on this one, okay? So let's dive in, because that actually, you can't win your league usually with the first pick, but you can lose your league with that first round pick, depending if they get injured. And that's really the key, is an injury. But it's hard to predict injuries. And some people are like, well, that guy's injury prone. It's like, really? We'll start diving into what the injuries are. Maybe they're not all related. Maybe it's a tough league. It's fast. It's hard hitting. Things happen. I'm actually shocked that there's not more injuries. And so we have to think about that. Okay. So I want to encourage you first and foremost about this. Be careful about the preseason hype train. Now, this is the most captain obvious one. There are guys that you want to see with your own eyes, but most people are playing against third string players. For example, J.J. McCarthy looked great in the preseason. And will he have a good career? Possibly. He's got great weapons around him, so he can have a great year. But some of those big throws he was making was against third string players. Some of those guys aren't even going to make the NFL. So we need to remind ourselves, he was good in college, but will he be great in the pros? And that is the question mark. But unfortunately, he got hurt, and we're not going to be able to see it. And that's the thing. It's like you can get all hyped up. And I know that the Minnesota fan base was excited. Of course, anyone who's got a new quarterback, if their quarterback does well, for example, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, it's like, oh, we've got our next guy. You know, that's where we are blessed as Packers fans. You know, we got Jordan Love. Like, man, he looks like the real deal. And we're just hoping he does. But be careful about the preseason hype train, because, he struggled in preseason does not mean he's going to struggle in the regular season. And also, just because he struggled, just because he played well in the preseason, what quarter was he playing in? Who was he playing against? But it is for some of those running backs, wide receivers, seeing them live, seeing what they can do on the field in NFL stadiums and systems is important. But you can't put a lot into that. Okay, that's probably the most captain obvious one. Now, I do want to talk about, so we talked about so asking more questions, okay? Let's just do some more research and those kind of things. I want to show you a couple of these, okay? So what I've realized is everyone has a do not draft list, whether it's unofficial or official, whether you've written down on a paper. But if you go through mock drafts, you find out there's certain guys that you're not happy with, okay? You're not happy with, and you just always don't draft them. So I've been noticing there's about 6 or 7 players I've never, ever draft, and they're very good players. For example, we'll just use this one. Anthony Richardson. Okay. Is that right? Anthony Richardson. Okay. So Anthony Richardson, just a great athlete, all those things, lots of hype on him. I never have drafted him yet. So I have to ask the question, why don't I draft him? Why don't I go after him? Why don't I go after Marvin Harrison Jr.? Why haven't I drafted so why do I not? It's because I don't like the ADPs. Everyone's in on them saying they're going to do this, they're going to do it. Oh, Kyler Murray's great. Well, no, he's not. Kyler Murray has a hard time staying healthy. When Kyler Murray is a healthy quarterback, he's played very well. I think the highest I've seen him is end up at quarterback 7. But another year when he was healthy, I think he was quarterback 12 or 14. So these people who just say these, and Kyler Murray healthy is amazing. Well, obviously when he's not. Like Joe Burrow hurt, didn't play well, right? Captain Obvious there. But why is it that I always avoid Anthony Richardson? Okay. Why do I always avoid him? Because he is a talented, maybe I'm wrong about him. So I'm asking myself the question, maybe I should be picking him up. Maybe if he drops, he's a good value. Now, I want to show you this before we get there. I'll show you exactly what I mean by this when it comes to Anthony Richardson. Okay. Now, if you go to something like Fantasy Pros, okay, actually, I'll just show you this. So Fantasy Pros does this really cool thing. This is called, if you search under My Playbook, I think it is. No, it's rankings, and you go to ADP. Okay. If you go to ADP, you go to the average draft position. So it's this year's consensus of 6 different sources of what people are actually drafting so far this season. And as you look, you got ESPN, Yahoo, CBS, Sleeper, RT Sports, and then they average out what it is. So you can actually just go to whatever one of these. If you're on Sleeper, you can just click on that, or Yahoo, click on that, whichever one here. But it gives you a sense of what people are actually drafting people at. So you see that Anthony Richardson is quarterback number 6 that's coming off the board. He's number 6 on ESPN, Yahoo, number 9 on CBS, and number 6 on Sleeper, and number 5 on RT Sports. What is RT Sports? I think it's that Roto. So I don't know. So 6 is the spot. Now that might be a great value, but why is people have him so high? Because, and here's CJ Stroud, who was quarterback 11 last year, and all of a sudden, because Stephon Diggs showed up and Mixon, he's going to go from 11 to 5. That's a good question, but just do a little bit of research. Okay. Why is everyone impressed with Anthony Richardson? It's because of 3 weeks. The 3 weeks he started, he had 21 points, almost 22 points against Jacksonville, 17.7 against Houston, and then 29.6. In the first 3 weeks, he was killing it. Then he got injured. And so we assume that he's just going to have these monster weeks going forward. Okay. Now, Houston, he struggled with, but it's too bad he didn't play more games, because it would have been nice to see him play against some of these other defenses. And I mean, obviously playing against Jacksonville again, he should have torched them. Tennessee, but look at the rushing attempts. Okay, 10, 56. Then he's getting rushing touchdowns. He had 4 rushing touchdowns in 3 games. That's really good. His passing yards weren't great, but 223 plus a touchdown there. Like, this is what salvages him, is all his rushing yards, and we know that rushing quarterbacks are there. But this is why he's moved up to number 6, because if healthy, he's going to be a top 3, top 5 guy. And in theory, it's right, but is it going to happen in reality? I think this is just very interesting to think about, to know. Okay. So this is what I'm talking about. Everyone has a do not draft list. For some reason, I have not been drafting him. Maybe I need to draft him. Now, if we go back to, okay, Exhibit A, actually, let's go back for CJ Stroud. Why is everyone all in on CJ Stroud? He only played 1 season, rookie, is going to get more reps. Okay. But look at his numbers. Okay. So it gets 10, 21, 20, 21, 14, 15, 12. Then he has a monster week against Tampa Bay. He's got 41. That skews the numbers, right? But he did it. He got it. That's amazing. 20, 18, 30. That's an awesome week. 16, 3, 12, and 20. So look, if you're looking, he got injured here at the 3, right? and they're saying he was quarterback 11. Where would he end up if he had played those extra games? Unfortunately, he failed you if you're going into the playoffs with Stroud. But, 12 and then 20. Yeah, he killed you last year. But again, they're saying if he's healthy. But if you look at, for example, Patrick Mahomes real quick, this was his worst year in his career fantasy-wise, I believe. Or it was one of the bottom 2 or 3. But really struggled. The year before, he was the number 1 fantasy quarterback. And without his great rushing yards, he doesn't get very many. And he didn't get any rushing touchdowns. That's why he struggled. And so, is he going to bounce back? What's it going to happen? So those are some of the things you got to ask yourself. So Patrick Mahomes gets a pass. He's now going off the board as the number 2 guy. Jalen Hurts has been pushed down to number 3. This is just really, really interesting and riveting stuff, if you ask me. Okay. So this do not draft list. Now I want to show you something else that is I found really interesting. Now I've talked a lot about quarterbacks. Let's talk about other guys here. Okay. So if I go to right here, let me show you this one. So yeah. So I'm on Twitter and I'm following Yahoo Fantasy Sports because that's a majority of my drafts are on that and Sleeper. Okay. And this Dalton Del Dons gives his top players to avoid. And I think this is what I'm really frustrated with is all these people are using this terminology, avoid this player. Must draft, league winner. It's to get clicks. Okay. And I get it. So look at this list. Now, some of these players I totally agree with. I'm avoiding as well at this stage. But Kyren Williams, Travis Etienne, Devontae Adams, DeAndre Swift, Zamir White's number 5, Zach Moss, Jaden Reed, Justin Herbert, Tony Pollard, Jordan Addison. Okay. So avoid these players. Okay, that's what it says. If you don't do any more research, that's what it says. Why in the world would you avoid Kyren Williams? Now, this is why I'm asking the question, is because Kyren Williams last year, before his injury, and he missed 4 to 5 games. He might be saying because he's injury prone. Okay, that's a legitimate excuse. Or you're like, well, that has to be it. Because if you look at his production, he averaged the second most fantasy points per game, just under McCaffrey. And that's the question. So if we bring up in the comments here, the Wisconsinite podcast says, who should I draft if I have the first pick? You can go many different ways. CMC last year in a 0.5 PPR league had, I believe, 81.6 points more than the next best running back. He was the smartest guy to draft last year because he dominated the position. You can pick CMC, okay? And the reason why I say this is that's the domination. So if Kyren Williams plays a full season, and that's how people do he is going to average as almost as much as CMC. Like it's going to be CMC and Kyren Williams. Maybe Bijan, maybe Breece Hall get there as well. But for sure, those guys were tearing up the league, okay? Why would you have him on the avoid list? It's because he's worried about injuries probably. So, but I'm not worried about Kyren Williams. I think if people are going to avoid him and he slides back, he's a guy I'd be definitely targeting later on in a draft. But a lot of people are worried about him. But I want to talk to you about the number 2, okay? Travis Etienne, okay? On a terrible team. But he's the best weapon there. Him and Trevor Lawrence likes him. He gets catches out of the backfield. He's a productive running back. Even on a bad team, he was running back 3 last year, everyone. And they're saying, and so so just ask questions. Look at this one guy. What did he say? Rarely do I see a list that I fully agree with. Dalton is 10 out of 10. That's just not true. Now look at this. Does that mean avoid ETN at his ADP or at his overall? And that's a great question. And Dalton says at his ADP. Okay, let's quickly look at his ADP. Okay, right now ETN is going as running back 9. Derrick Henry's ahead of him. Kyron Williams ahead of him. The people who are behind him: Achane, Pacheco, Josh Jacobs, James Cook. So where would you, Rashad White? Which one of these running backs would you like more than Travis Etienne? The guy has been consistent, everyone, absolutely consistent for years. So if you look at him for 2 years, actually, this was his first. Sorry, my apologies, not for years. He's played for 2 years. He had 187 the first year, played full 17 games, and last year had 253. So maybe you're saying, well, he's going to be at the 200 range. Be careful. Well, I mean, he's on a bad team and he had a monster year. So the question is that Wisconsin said, I want to go back. Sorry, I keep going back and forth. Who should I draft if I have the first pick? I would go with CMC if he's healthy. You can go with CeeDee Lamb. I would go either not CeeDee Lamb. I would go Tyreek Hill because he's safer, or CMC. And if you don't like either one of those guys, you can be happy with a guy like Breece Hall. Breece Hall's going to rip it up. If he plays a full season, he's going to rip it up. You can go Jamar Chase and be happy. You can go CeeDee Lamb as long as he signs. You'll be happy. It's almost like it's barring injury, barring holdout, you can't really go wrong in that spot. I think what it is the questions need to start going around. I would personally, at this stage, pick CMC as my number 1 overall. Now, if you're in a dynasty, you might not want to do that. If you're in a different kind of league, you might not want to do that. But I think he is so good. He's been so consistent over the years. Now, has he had injury problems? Yes, everyone has. So that's my quick answer to you. Okay. Now, if we go back to legit sites, okay, so let's go back to this. I went ADHD there for a second. Does that mean avoid ETN at his ADP or his overall? Dalton said at his ADP. That's interesting, right? Because I just said that he is going at number 9 running back, which is 16 overall. So it's in the second round. I think that's good value. If you can get ETN in the 3rd round, even better. But yeah, so, I mean, if you avoid him, someone else is going to take him. You need to understand that. But he has top 10 potential, and he's getting drafted at the 9th spot. So I think that's good value, but he doesn't like that. I don't know all. So he goes, I got him late in the second. Is that good? 2.11. I think that's great, by the way. He doesn't belong on this list. This guy says he's one of the most consistent running backs. Well, I don't know if he is. He's only played 2 years. We proved that. Depends on who else is available, depending on your league format, depending if it's the wide receiver. And then Corey Wilson, I don't know this guy at all. He says, but he's a DFS guy. He says, in a vacuum, it's not great. If he goes in the 30s on sharper platforms, but if you're in a 0.5 PPR league or a full PPR and you're in a boomer room that's running back hungry, 2.11 is fine. And I would agree with that. Totally agree with that. So be careful what you see there and believe. So Davante Adams, he's older now is the thing. Doesn't have a great quarterback. Here's the thing about Davante Adams. Uncle Rico, Minshew Mania is better quarterback situation than what they had last year. And he's still, what did he end up as last year? Let me just bring it up real quick. Davante Adams ended at wide receiver 14. Wide receiver 14 last year, everyone. Isn't that wild to think about? Now, what is he going at in average draft positions? He's going at 11. So, I mean, That's not bad. And if you look at it, he missed a game, didn't he, last year? No, he played all 17 games. And last year, so he played 17 games and he had 213 fantasy points. And by the way, this is that's standard. Let me go to half point PPR. That's even better. Okay. Half point PPR, it was number 10. Okay. Number 10. And if you look at his season stats, so last year he had a down year of 213, but the year before they had 285 with Vegas, and 282. So 2 years with 280 plus fantasy points. That was with Green Bay. 300 the year before with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. Like, you should be thinking that he's going to be in the 280 range, maybe the 250 to 280. If you're talking about 250 fantasy points, okay, that means if he ends up becoming the guy at 250 fantasy points, he'll be in the top three. So doesn't even need to get to 280 to be in the top. That's how wild this is. Oh no, that's in standard. My apologies. I'm learning my mistake here. My bad. Okay, 0.5 PPR I'll go with. If he was getting 250, he would have been wide receiver 3. Wide receiver 3 last year ahead of Puka, ahead of Mike Evans, ahead of DJ Moore, ahead of AJ Brown. So this do not avoid list. Now you're thinking, okay, but what if he ends up as the wide receiver? He's going at wide receiver. What did we say? Wide receiver 10 in 0.5 PPR. Okay. I mean, I don't understand the fade. Why are you fading him? Makes no sense to me at all. DeAndre Swift, I can understand. You don't know with that offense. It could go well. It could not. Zamir White, where his ADP is going, we can just check that out real quick. So let's go to Swift. And so Swift is going for running back 22. I think that's high. But Zamir White is right there, 24. Who would you like? I mean, Mozart might be good there. Javonte Williams, maybe. Jalen Warren. I mean, who would you pick other than those guys? Najee Harris, maybe. Tony Pollard over those guys? Like, this is what I don't understand. It's like they're actually ranked by ADP properly, but why do you hate this guy? Why do you hate this guy? Like, they potentially could have good seasons, solid seasons, not great seasons, but solid. And if you're going to go 0 RB, you're going to have to picking the DeAndre Swifts, the Whites of the world, maybe even the Zach Moss. Okay, the Zach Moss, like Zach Moss is going at what did I just say? Running back 29, right? So I think they're all ranked in the right spot, and I understand it. Jaden Reed. Okay, let's talk. I understand the fade on Jaden Reed. He's the safest of all the Green Bay Packers wide receivers. And as a Packers fan, I'm huge on all the Packers. But I'm telling you right now, I'm not targeting any Packers except for maybe Jordan Love if I wait too long for a quarterback, or Josh Jacobs falls to me in a reasonable round. I'll go after those guys. But I'm not going after the wide receivers. Why? Because Jordan Love spreads the ball around. Why? Because there's five probably wide receivers that he could throw to. I think one Sunday it'll be Dontavian Wicks. Another will be Reed. Another one it will be Dobbs. Another one it's going to be Christian Watson. Maybe in 1 week the best wide receiver is going to be Bo Melton. And I think that's how the style of the Green Bay Packers is going to be. So I understand that you want to fade Jaden Reed, and that makes sense to me because I'm not targeting any of those guys. If they fall in my lap, absolutely, I'm going to go after them, right? So, but if you look at Jaden Reed, he's the safest of them. He was the number 1 fantasy producing wide receiver on Green Bay, and that let's just see where he actually ended up. Half PPR. Let's see where Jaden Reed ended up. He ended up as wide receiver 23. Okay, last year. which he could do again. He could do again, but let's see where he's going in drafts. Jaden Reed is going as wide receiver 36. Why would you fade him? He has wide receiver 3 talent, or 23 talent, guys. That's a flex play. I'm not sure. Dalton, I don't understand why you're doing this. Be careful to follow bad fantasy advice, everyone. The last two here, and Justin Herbert, I get it. Too much risk. I don't like, the offensive line very much. I don't like his weapons. I just think, he'll be gunslinging. He might have to do that, but I don't have him high on my list. But if you go to ADP, for example, I do not have Justin Herbert high, but he's going at quarterback 17. Most people, unless you're in a super flex league, you're not starting him. If you're in a 12-team 0.5 PPR, you're not even, you might pick up Justin Herbert on the bench. That's the only thing you're not starting Justin Herbert. That's insanity. So why are you fading him? Because people are picking him at number 17. Like Aaron Rodgers should be going ahead of Herbert. He's going at 18. Kirk Cousins should be going ahead of him. Matthew Stafford should be going ahead of him. Maybe that's why he's saying that. All those quarterbacks should be higher than Justin Herbert, and I agree with it. I actually agree with I'm avoiding Justin Herbert in my pools. I will not have him on any of my leagues unless I'm in a dynasty league and he's already on my roster. Tony Pollard, I understand why he's fading him. I'm not sure what he's going to do in Tennessee. There's lots of other running backs I'd rather have, so I'm fading him as well. Jordan Addison, okay, Sam Darnold is your starting quarterback. Don't know how that's going to turn out. Of course. Now you can fade him back. He's on a DUI, I believe, if my memory serves me correctly. So I understand why you'd fade, but I don't understand these top 3 guys, why he would be fading those guys. I think they're all actually priced in the right spot. And then if you're in that middle round, I think the Swift, White, and Moss are fine. They're getting drafted in the right spots. So yeah, anyways, those are some things. I went on a long rant, but I wanted to show you that for a minute. Now I've got some comments I want to dive in. Hey, Jason, good to see you. Welcome to the channel. I really appreciate you, man. Thanks for stopping by and leaving a comment. Best viewers on, okay, that's not good. I don't care about that. Okay, thoughts on my team. Okay, I want to dive into. I'm gonna get to this, and I actually like a lot of the players you got. So just stick with me. I'm absolutely going to share on that. Let me get through my last couple points, and then I'm gonna dive into that. That's a great question. So example A, I talk about Anthony Richardson, players that I did have on my do not draft list. Why I don't know why I have him on there, but I understand. But I want to talk about example C. Now, Deontay Johnson and Bryce Young. There's a guy I follow, and I think he's a great person. I think he's an incredible individual, like top-notch guy. But he keeps saying, don't sleep on Deontay Johnson and Bryce Young. Don't sleep on them. And it's like, so what do you mean by that? So I actually asked him, and basically we got into a bit of an argument on X regarding it. And it's not that I was trying to be a jerk or anything like that, but I do push back and say, so what do you mean by don't sleep? Is that to me, that means pick them up and you'll be happy, right? So we get into this conversation on Twitter. And again, I'm not here to criticize him as an analyst or whatever. No, he's not an analyst. He's just a guy. He's a guy like me that's doing this. Okay. So I said to him, I think I get frustrated with these kinds of posts saying, don't sleep on this guy, acting like they're going to be league winners. But in reality, the way you rank them and take a flyer on is this way. This is the better way. So you can take a flyer on this guy and you can actually hope for the best. Because people, when they see that, they're going to say, they're going to be misled and say, I've got to get that guy. And you're going to take Deontay Johnson too early. Okay. You're going to take Bryce Young in leagues and you're like, why did I do that? You're going to be disappointed. And so he said, taking a flyer on someone or not sleeping on someone doesn't mean reaching for someone. I mean, sure it does. I guess. I mean, people are going to be doing that. Now, it means players can play well above their ADP and reward savvy drafters. I agree with that statement. In half PPR, Deontay is going as wide receiver 32. Actually, it's 38. If he finishes, and so when I asked him this question, I said, what in your opinion, Deontay Johnson will end the year as wide receiver? What Bryce Young will end the year as quarterback? What he said, Deontay can finish as a top 24 wide receiver. Young can finish as a top 24 quarterback. And I'm like, bro. So don't sleep on Bryce Young. I get it. First round pick, but he's on a terrible team. Doesn't have a good offensive line. His weapons are okay. We're talking about old men, Adam Thielen. We're talking about Mingo. We're talking, you know what I mean? Like Leggett. You've got Deontay Johnson there. It's not like it's a stellar stud group. Okay. But if he hits a top 24 quarterback, that means that he's the worst starter in a 12-team super flex league. That's what it means. That's what it means. Isn't that crazy to think about? And then if you look at Deontay Johnson recent history in a 0.5 PPR, he was in 2023 wide receiver 43, and 2022 was wide receiver 39, and in 2021 he was wide receiver 9. That's why people are sleeping on these guys. And can I just say, rightfully so? And so I understood he was getting frustrated with me. Okay. And I get it. But I want to be the guy who pushes back and tries to understand the thought process. Okay. I'm listening. I'm thinking of maybe I should go get Bryce Young in a super flex league. Maybe I should pick up Deontay. What round? So I said, in a 0.5 PPR league, ADP, Deontay is wide receiver 38. Which of these will he outperform barring injury? Maybe 3 on this list. Actually, I should throw this up here. Okay, I want to throw this up here so that you guys can see it, because it just makes more sense when you see it. Okay. Okay, so here we are. Okay, so don't sleep means like must draft later, right? So you want to get Deontay. Who are you taking before Deontay? T. Higgins, Deontay over Zay Flowers, Tank Dell, Terry McLaurin, Christian Kirk, Keenan Allen, Godwin, Rashee Rice, Calvin Ridley, Jaden Reed, Worthy, Deontay. See, here I would say maybe there's 3 guys that I would take him above. So he's actually ranked well. This is where you're like, yeah, you could take him at 38, which is what is that round, whatever round it is. I think it's round 8 or 7. I think it's 8. If you can get him around 9, that's an ideal spot. Okay. Round 9 is an ideal spot. But this is really important to know. Really important to know. Okay. He might be a steal. And he's like, don't sleep on them. Well, that's where the market is, man. So if you get him in round 9, I mean, that could be a steal. Maybe he could get into wide receiver 24. But I don't know. It's the Panthers. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he's going to get there. And I get it. We're all trying our best to get league winners and make sure you do these kinds of things. So just a reminder, before I get into this comment, know your leagues format. Okay, you got to know your league's format. You got to know, is it a standard league? Is it a score 0.5 PPR? Those points per reception. Every time the guy catches the ball, you get 0.5 of a point. Or is it a full? You get a full point for every time a guy catches the ball. Or is it tight end premium, where if the tight end catches it, they get extra points compared to everyone else? Or is it a super flex where you're starting 2 quarterbacks? Very important before you draft to know that it's a super flex league. And what that means is you can start 2 quarterbacks, or it says like an it's OP, isn't it? What's that stand for? I forget off the top of my head. Anyways, other position or whatever like that, and you can do a running back, a wide receiver, a tight end, or a quarterback. Always start a quarterback in that spot. So if you're going into a draft and it's a super flex league, you're going to watch and see all the quarterbacks are going to go off the board early. But if you're in a standard league, quarterbacks are going to go really far down. And that's just it. It is what it is. So know how many starters at each position. Tomorrow, I have 3 leagues. By the way, tomorrow I'm doing a video called on my most important league. It's a 2-person keeper, 0.5 PPR. I've kept Jefferson and Cooper Kupp, and I picked number 6. I'm going to be doing a live draft tomorrow night. Don't miss out on the draft tomorrow night, okay? And then I also have 2 more leagues. One of the leagues I'm in tomorrow, I just got invited to this league randomly from a friend. I'm going into it. You can start 5 wide receivers. I'm telling you right now, I'm loading up with wide receivers in that league because I want to win that league. But in other leagues, in a redraft league, I'm probably going double hero RB. So I'll go hero RB in the draft that has 5. I'll go double hero RB in a standard league, but in this league that I'm going, I could do 0 RB and probably do really, really well. So yeah, know your leagues, everyone. Absolutely important. Okay, we're gonna get into these comments and go from there. I should have put myself there. Okay, thoughts on my team. Josh Allen, stud. But I think he's going to regress a little bit this year. But what's his regression going to be? If he gets to 400 fantasy points like he's in that range, 390 to 400, that is, if he gets anywhere in that 350 plus, he's still valuable. He's super talented. It depends if his young talent can step up, okay? So I really like Josh Allen. I don't have him as my number 1 quarterback, but he's in my top 3. CMC, love him. If he's healthy, I think he's my number 1 guy. Kamara's solid, getting older. I think he's a great number 2. Debo, awesome talent, dude. Great job, Cole, getting Debo. His only concern is his injury history, but when he plays, he's a top 10, top 12 wide receiver, no doubt about it. Amari Cooper is a sneaky one. Most people don't do really well with him. They push him back. I think that's a great pick on your end. And then Montgomery, it looks like you're doing starting 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and a flex. Montgomery might be a steal at a flex. I really like Rice. Mahomes, if he bounces back, means Rice is going to have a good year. Chase Brown is a very good sneaky play. A lot of people are high on him. So that's good value where you got him. Coleman, I mean, if you think Josh Allen's going to be good, okay, you said it's 2 flex, 12 teams. Okay. I'm okay with this team. This team looks good. Coleman, if Josh Allen plays well, I think Coleman is one of the guys that could really produce well. It's either him or Shakir or Curtis Samuel, but he's hurt now, and I'm missing somebody. Who's the other guy? Anyways, but I mean, Kincaid, those guys. I like that late Coleman pick. Algier's always great. If he has fantasy value, even if Bijan doesn't go down, but if Bijan doesn't go down, he could be a league winner for you. And I'm starting to believe a little bit of the hype with Javonte Williams. I think you drafted awesome. I would be, if I came out of my leagues tomorrow, I got 3 leagues tomorrow, and I've got Javonte Williams in a number of those, man alive. I'm happy. I'm happy with this team. I think you drafted well, really well. Congrats, man. Yeah, you're welcome. But I mean, you always have to tweak it. I'm not saying you won the league. It's just something to think about. Okay, Jason says, who would you pick between Dobbs, Reed, Watson, Wicks, Melton, and which tight end would you draft, Musgrave or Kraft from the Packers? Okay. Jason, I went on a long talk already tonight about I'm not going after any of these guys. I'm not targeting any of these guys. I'm only going to them when they fall to me. So Reed is the safest. I believe Watson has the highest upside. Dobbs is also a safer play, but it's hard to trust Dobbs because you don't know when he's going to be great. All these guys, in my opinion, are flex plays. Okay. Wicks, love Wicks. I think he's a great route runner, but can you depend on him every week? And as a Packers fan, I like all these guys. But as a fantasy football person, I would rank them Reed as the safest, Watson as the most upside, because if he stays healthy, he could destroy some teams, right? He's got the speed, he can catch those tough passes in the end zone. Okay. And then Dobbs, I like Dobbs as a sneaky play. I would say like round 13, maybe I'd pick up Dobbs. I wouldn't pick up Melton at all. Only if one of these guys gets hurt, then put Melton on the bench just in case. And then I'm not drafting Musgrave or Kraft in any league unless it's a dynasty league until I see more. But if you're going to wait on a tight end, you can wait until like round 12 before you even pick Musgrave. He's always there. But there's tons of tight ends that I like better. And that's so you got to take the homer bias out of it, and you got to select better players for fantasy because Jordan Love does pass the ball around. Now, maybe Musgrave surprises me and becomes a top 5 tight end. That would be awesome. That'd be awesome. I'd love to see that, but I don't know if it's going to happen. Anyways, this has been an awesome night. I so appreciate you guys coming out, and feel free to hit me up on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, just in the comments. If you have other questions about your team, I would be very, very happy to connect with you guys regarding it. But yeah, love it. Love the comments here tonight. Awesome. Thanks for coming out, everyone. Hope you have a great evening. And this is that new intro that I just made. I'm going to play it again as we leave the stream tonight. Thanks so much for watching the video. Hit the like and subscribe. And I hope you go and compete and contend and win a championship. Go have an awesome draft. Avoid bad fantasy advice, everyone. Don't sit there and go, oh, 0 RB is the only strategy. It's not. You can win on lots of different strategies. Watch how the league's going in your draft. If you're going to zig, you zag, right? And so think about it. Use your brain. Use consensus rankings to your advantage. Don't get all, jacked up on the preseason hype train. Don't just be a homer and pick guys off your own team. Definitely think it through. Pick the best players and have a great time doing it. Have a great time doing it, everyone. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon.
Y'all ready for this?